Alright, I'm just gonna hit start all. And I'm back. Back on YouTube, back on Twitch, back on Kick, and still working on trying to get the book set up so I can get it published. That's the plan for today. Probably not gonna happen today. I'm gonna be leaving in a little over an hour, maybe an hour and a half, to go and buy a truck, which will be my first vehicle other than a kayak that I've owned in 23 years. Can't say I'm the most excited about it, but it's part of where my wife and I are at right now, with me trying to be more independent. Can't say I want the expense or the responsibility of it, but that's kind of part of the issue with our marriage, is me not willing to take on expense or responsibility. So yeah, I'm getting a vehicle. I'll be mobile. I will have freedom. I'll no longer be stuck in the place all the time. But for right now, I am still trying to write this dedication. I went into ChatGPT and put down all the notes that I came up with on a walk with my dog. I'm not letting ChatGPT write this for me because it needs to come from the heart, but I did use it to punch all my blurbs in order to help me understand what I'm doing and streamline things a little bit more. So if you've heard me talk about poetry before, you know I'm really not a fan. I'm a published poet, but it's not really my jam. So what I have for my notes is dedicated to my wife. I'm sorry I'm no poet, but poetry is empty words more in love with their own sound than meaning. It exists to expose what you cannot define, or to scrape the deepest recesses of the mind. What I feel for you is too vast for words. In the breadth of the sky, it is the breadth of the sky, the depth of the ocean, both crammed into a single line. It scares me, stupefies me, and confounds me, all while lulling me into a dark abyss where I can only helplessly utter, "I love you." The most poetic phrase of them all, since it baffles identification. To me, it means to see all of someone or something and still like it or them just fine. It's not grand or fleeting or even romantic in the slightest, because romance is exaggeration. It's simply complete acceptance, where the only change you would make is for the subject's betterment or happiness. Poetry was stolen from bards and handed to dim-witted charlatans who lacked understanding but felt a selfish desire to seduce others with their ignorance that demanded validation. Like Nietzsche says, it's a thief that sets up its stand next to its victim. It was meant to be a tool of cadence to aid in recitation of epic works like Milton and Homer. To the Japanese, it's a device to instill awareness beyond the mind, but poetry isn't flowery or kind. When the French corrupted it by adding rhyme, they made it childish and demanded that meaning be replaced with pleasant, playful sounds. If poetry ever succeeded in saying what it actually meant, it would cease to be poetic. Therefore, it is the only medium that destroys itself upon success. Now it has been degraded further into Instagram posts that are just clever lines with no semblance of either rhythm or rhyme. So in the end, poetry was its own undoing. That's what I have, and I want to write a poem about how I don't write poetry based on those notes. So, yeah. ChatGPT responds, "Good, this is already doing what you want it to do. I'm going to reflect it back to you in ordered pieces, not rewriting, not beautifying, just isolating what you're actually saying so you can decide how to shape it. I'll break this into 1, your core claims, 2, your tensions, and 3, possible structural spines you could choose from. 1, what you are actually saying, mirrored plainly. A, the dedication is an apology and a refusal. You open by apologizing for not being a poet. That apology is not insecurity, it's a moral stance. You're refusing to use a form you believe prioritizes sound, performance, and seduction over truth. This already frames the poem as, I love you too honestly to hide behind craft. B, your critique of poetry is not that it's vague, but that it is self-loving. Your strongest accusation isn't poetry is unclear, it's poetry falls in love with itself. It mistakes aesthetic pleasure for meaning. It becomes performative rather than communicative. Your saying poetry exposes what cannot be defined, but often stops there, admiring the exposure instead of serving understanding. It's important you are not anti-mystery, you are anti-narcissism. C, love is too complete to survive exaggeration. Your definition of love is very precise, even if you claim it isn't poetic. Love is seeing all of someone and remaining. Love is acceptance without illusion. Love does not equal romance, which you define as exaggeration. Love does not equal grandeur or fleeting intensity. This is one of your clearest, strongest ideas. Love is not expansion, it is completion. And the phrase "I love you" matters because it fails to specify, it collapses under analysis, it resists definition the way love itself actually does. You aren't praising poetry here, you're accidentally identifying the one place it works, which bothers you. Your historical rant about theft and decay is about theft and decay, not nostalgia. The section isn't really about bards, Milton, Homer, or the French. It's about misuse. Your through line, poetry, was a tool. Memory, cadence, awareness. It becomes a performance, then a seduction, then a commodity, then a caption. Your Nietzsche line fits because your accusation is parasitic. Poetry feeds on what it claims to express. The Instagram line isn't petty. It's final evidence that poetry has lost discipline, lost function, lost humility. The most important idea, and you may not realize this yet, this is the philosophical core you're circling. Poetry is the only medium that annihilates itself when it succeeds. That's not a throwaway line, that's the thesis that unifies. Your hatred of poetry, your discomfort writing this, your fear of reducing your wife to language, the title "Drowning." 2. The productive contradictions. Don't remove these. These are not problems, they're structural tension. You despise poetry, yet you're writing one because prose feels insufficient. You accuse poetry of exaggeration, yet you use sky and ocean scale to gesture at love. You distrust romance, yet this is undeniably intimate. You argue poetry fails when it succeeds, yet you want this piece to succeed emotionally. That friction is the engine. If you sand it down, you kill the piece. 3. Possible spines. You choose. I don't fill. I'll give you 3 ways to order what you already have, not suggestions for content. Option 1, refusal to love to condemnation. 1, apology/refusal to be a poet. 2, why love resists language. 3, your definition of love, acceptance not romance. 4, why poetry fails that standard. 5, poet's historical decay. 6, ending on poetry self-destruction. This reads like I tried to honor you, the tools were unworthy. Option 2, hatred first, exception second, full critique of poetry, the rant, historical theft and corruption, the paradox of poetic success, then and yet, you. I love you is the only surviving phrase, and unresolved, uncomfortable. This reads like I don't believe in this form except here, and I resent that. Option 3, intimacy framed by attack, dedication to your wife, immediate rejection of poetry, definition of love, fear and vastness, return to critique as justification, final line that undermines the entire act. This reads as, if this fails, it's because honesty always does in verse. Final thing I want to say, not as a writer, but as a reader, you are not actually writing about poetry, you are writing about why some things should not be optimized, why seduction corrupts truth, why love survives only when it refuses to perform, and that's why it belongs in front of drowning. It's a warning label. If you want next, I can help you cut redundancies without altering your voice, help you decide where to stop. Your ending is currently very sharp, almost too complete, or reflect it back again once you reorder it yourself. You're doing this right by insisting it be yours. So, yeah, I'm a little baffled, and when I get baffled like this, the temptation is slack off, go do something else, forget about it. It's too hard, why bother? And I don't want to do that. I want to get this done. I want to get this done in the next hour and a half before my wife calls me to let me know that she is leaving work and coming to pick me up. So, yeah. Let's see if I can't... That's awesome. 1 sub point, 1 subscriber. I like seeing that. I really do. That's cool. Yeah. What the fuck is my hair doing? Look like the Guido character from Laverne and Shirley. Is that better? Yay. It's better-ish. option 1. Can you organize my notes / ideas? To fit that. I feel like I already have, like that is the natural order that I have. Yes, I'll organize, not rewrite. What follows is your material, order to match option 1, refusal to love to condemnation. I'm deliberately keeping your diction, your claims, and even some of the roughness. Think of this as a skeleton with muscle still on it, not a polished body. I'll label sections so you can see the architecture. You can remove the labels afterwards. One, refusal / apology, the moral stance dedicated to my wife. An apology, not for lack of skill, but for refusal. You are not a poet because poetry prioritizes its own sound over meaning. Poetry is often empty words enamored with how they land rather than what they carry. You reject it as a vessel for something that matters. Core idea here, I won't dress this in a form I don't trust. 2, why poetry exists at all, granting it its due. Poetry exists to expose what cannot be defined. Its function is to scrape the deepest recesses of the mind. It gestures toward the unsayable rather than naming it. This is not its flaw, this is its purpose. You are conceding legitimacy before you turn away from it. This makes the refusal honest, not dismissive. 3, love exceeds language, and that frightens you. What you feel for your wife is too vast for words. Sky, breadth, and ocean depth compressed into a single line. The compression itself is terrifying. The feeling stupefies and confounds. It lulls you into a dark abyss where speech collapses. All that remains is I love you, the most poetic phrase because it resists identification. It fails to specify and survives because of that failure. Your definition of love, anti-romance. I love you means seeing all of someone and liking them just fine anyway. Love is not grand, not fleeting, not romantic. Romance is exaggeration. Love is complete acceptance. The only change you would make is for the subject's betterment and happiness. Key claim, love is not amplification, it is clarity without rejection. Why poetry fails love. The turn. Poetry cannot do this without distorting it. It exaggerates, it performs, it seduces, it prioritizes validation over understanding, it replaces meaning with effect. This is where your personal refusal becomes philosophical. 6, theft and corruption. Poetry was stolen from bards, handed to dim-witted charlatans, people who lacked understanding but wanted admiration. They used ignorance as seduction and demanded validation. Nietzsche, poetry is a thief setting up shop beside its victim. It feeds on what it pretends to honor. What poetry was meant to be, a tool of cadence, a memory aid for epic works like Milton and Homer, a discipline, not a decoration. In Japan, a device to instill awareness beyond mind, not flowery, not kind, not ornamental. How it collapsed. The French added rhyme. Rhyme replaced meaning with pleasant sound. Poetry became childish, playful, demanding attention. If poetry ever succeeded in saying what it meant, it would cease to be poetry. It is the only medium that destroys itself upon success. This is your thesis statement. Treat it like one. The final degradation. Now poetry has degraded further. Instagram posts, clever lines, no rhythm, no rhyme, no discipline. Poetry was its own undoing. Ending note, this lands hard. You may choose whether you want to close the door or leave it slightly ajar by echoing back to the dedication. One quiet observation, not instruction. You never once say, and yet I am still writing this. But it's implied everywhere. That implication is stronger than stating it. Structurally, you're on solid ground. Yeah, it offers trim repetitions without softening blows. Can I trim repetitions repetitions. I'm real good at spelling repetitions just because I've had to a lot. Oh. Alright, I'm going to have it show me a version of my outline with those trims applied so I can like concatenate it, cut it down into simplified terms. Dedicated to my wife, no poet. Poetry loves its own sound more than meaning. It prioritizes performance over truth and cannot carry what matters. Poetry exists to expose what cannot be defined, to scrape the mind's deepest recesses. It gestures towards the unsaleable rather than naming it. All right. So ironically, I want to write this as a poem about why I despise poetry and why it's insufficient. So that's the contradiction. And this is where I'm supremely challenged. Because I haven't written in a long time, not poetry. Cannot express the completeness of love without distorting it. Poetry was stolen from bards by charlatans who lacked understanding and demanded validation through seduction. Poetry is a thief that sets up shop next to its victim. Ornamental, flowery, or kind. inspiration. Tool. Cadence. Memory aid for epic works like Milton and Homer. Reduced to a child's toy by the French who stripped its meaning. Poetry ever conveyed what it meant, it would destroy itself in the process. Hmm. Hmm. Amanda, I'm sorry I'm no poet, but long ago poetry sealed its own fate, prioritized performance over truth rather than carry its own weight. Poetry exists to expose what cannot be defined, to scrape clean the deepest recesses of the mind. We're into this already. Holy shit. dedicated to my wife. Amanda, I'm sorry I'm no poet, but long ago poetry sealed its own fate by prioritizing performance over truth rather than carry its own weight. Gestures toward the unsaleable. Complex. Claiming to expose what cannot be defined, lacking clarity or courage to name what it scrapes from the back of the mind. And I'm using my brain because this is making me sleepy. I'm gonna make some tea. This next line has kind of got me. Wow. 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 Let's see. Feel for you is too vast for words. It's like trying to compress the vastness of the sky and the depth of the ocean into a single line. The nice thing about living under such a heavy fucking neighbor is she's not very active. So after her limited movement throughout the day, she will sit in one place for a while and stop being so fucking noisy. But god damn, it's horrifying. Especially when, like, she's right above me. Oh shit. Like, there are 1,827 channels streaming Warframe. That is nuts. So huge viewership, but only like 3 average viewers per channel. That explains why I only get like 1 viewer whenever I'm streaming Warframe. There's always Fortnite. We have 1,827 streamers streaming Warframe. I do the middle part. This is the same as writing a novel. I gotta do the middle part now, and it's an hour and 10 minutes into this. I gotta end my stream pretty soon. Curious what ChatGPT is gonna say about what I've done. Mojo, what are you starting? Spacing over. Boom. Boom. Perfect. This is already a strong spine. I can see the beginning and end are tight. The emotional center is clear, and your critique of poetry flows logically. The middle sections, the transitions between your love for your wife and your indictment of poetry, are the places that could be finessed into more coherency and rhythm. Here's a breakdown of what's working, what drifts a bit, and where you could smooth the middle without changing your voice. Dedication and apology opening. Your first 4 lines are clean. Apology statement, contrast between performance and truth. Immediate honesty draws the reader in. Emotional core, love, sky, ocean, metaphor. I love you line. Your definition of love are extremely strong. Yeah, I would never change you except for your betterment line anchors the sincerity. Ending the final indictment. Instagram critique again. Sorry, not sorry. Bookends your opening apology nicely. The destroy itself in the process line provides philosophical closure. Middle sections where it drifts, yeah. Poetry exaggerates, performs, and seduces. Currently, it jumps abruptly from love to indictment. You use a transition phrase that frames your critique. Alright. Alright. So, got a ways to go. Want to get this done. But I'm good for now. I think I'm going to grab a snacky snack. I expect the wife to be here soon-ish. She's probably wrapping up work right now, so I'm going to wrap up my own work for the day, I guess. Hopefully, you guys will not see me again today because I will be spending the rest of my day with my wife and enjoying my new truck. I'll probably do a short video showing it off to you guys because it is nice. I'm getting an Avalanche. I'm getting a red and black Avalanche truck, so that'll be fun. Having my own vehicle for once, and then keep subscribing. I need the money now to accessorize my ride. So thank you for the one that I got today. I appreciate that. But yeah, I gotta go. I gotta go adult and live life. And again, hopefully you will not see me again tonight. Hopefully I will just be spending time with the wife. If she does abandon me and goes and does other stuff, then I will return and I will try and finish this dedication to her and even try to get it down somehow to a single page despite line breaks. So peace out. Thank you all. Anyone who's watching, anyone who's not, anyone who catches me in post, you're all appreciated. Apparently I can take subscriptions now, so do that. Do that. That would be good. All right. Peace out, people. I'll be back. Definitely tomorrow. Definitely, maybe, probably tomorrow. Possibly tonight. All right. Later. Goodbye, YouTube. You've been watching this whole time?